We have to make sure that we can protect Americans when they're abroad.
A warning to Americans abroad. You may face retaliation if the state of Virginia executes a man from Paraguay convicted of murder.
This is WorldView with CNN's Bernard Shaw and Judy Woodruff in Washington.
Thank you for joining us. Bernie is off. These stories are also ahead. The first test of the Northern Ireland Peace Accord, selling it to the Irish people. And celebration in Africa. Victory appears near for the long fight against a crippling disease. A murder case with international implications may be entering its final moments in the United States. About 3 hours from now, a death row inmate from Paraguay is scheduled to be executed by the state of Virginia for the rape and murder of a woman in 1992. But as CNN's justice correspondent Pierre Thomas reports, there is intense international pressure to delay that death sentence.
And Briard admitted during his trial that he murdered a Virginia woman in 1992. Briard said he was under a satanic curse when he sexually assaulted Ruth Dickey and stabbed her 5 times in the neck. The issue of guilt is not in question. The debate is over whether a violation of international law should prevent Briard's execution tonight. Briard was not allowed to speak to his embassy after his arrest, as called for by international law.
We cannot fathom the idea that the authorities of Virginia was just whoops, we made a mistake and that nothing can be done about it.
Some legal experts say the ramifications of the case are enormous for at least 74 nationals on death row in the U.S. and for Americans overseas.
When U.S. citizens travel abroad, should they fear falling into the same situation Mr. Briard has found himself in a foreign land, in a court system you don't understand, without translators in your own language, and then not able to have contact with your ambassador or consul? Of course we don't want that. That's the traveler's nightmare.
U.S. officials don't downplay the case's potential impact.
It is very important from the perspective of Secretary of State to assure ourselves that our citizens, were they to find themselves in any trouble whatsoever abroad, that they also would be accorded their rights.
Albright has called on Virginia's governor to stop Briard's execution for diplomatic reasons. But her agency agreed with the Justice Department that there was no legal reason for Virginia authorities to block Briard's execution. The Justice Department held there is no basis for concluding the assistance of a consular officer would have changed the outcome of criminal proceedings.
All Briard can do is wait. A spokesman for the Paraguayan embassy said his country is hoping for the best, but preparing for the worst. Judy?
Now, Pierre, when can we expect to hear from the Supreme Court?
Some of our sources are saying that a decision could come in the next hour or so, but again, Mr. Briard is scheduled to die at 9 o'clock tonight.
9 Eastern. Pierre Thomas, thanks. In Russia, fresh support for President Boris Yeltsin's choice for prime minister came Tuesday from a former opponent. The communist Speaker of the lower house of parliament has broken with party ranks and thrown his support behind nominee Sergei Kirienko. Kirienko was rejected by lawmakers last week in a first-round vote. If he is rejected 3 times, Mr. Yeltsin can dismiss parliament and call new elections. The Speaker said he would rather approve Kirienko than have that happen. You can hear from Kirienko himself on Wednesday here on WorldView, beginning at 6 p.m. Eastern. Reports from Moscow say President Yeltsin has decided to sign a controversial law preventing the return of artworks which were looted from Germany during World War II. However, the president's spokesman says only that Mr. Yeltsin will sign the bill Tuesday or Wednesday and then appeal to the courts to overturn the measure. Germany and other countries where the so-called trophy art came from are demanding their collections be returned. The law passed by Parliament aims to keep it all in Russia. Mr. Yeltsin's veto of the bill last year was overridden by Parliament. Turning now to the Middle East, a big effort appears underway to heal the rift between Yasser Arafat's Palestinian Authority and the Islamic militant group Hamas. At issue is the killing of a principal Hamas bomb maker. Our Jerusalem bureau chief Walter Rogers reports.
It sparked heated arguments. A preliminary report delivered to the Palestinian Legislative Council on who killed master bomber Muhyiddin al-Sharif. Council members debated the original Palestinian Authority claim that Sharif was killed in an internal Hamas power struggle, not by the Israelis. They called for calm amid what has been a growing rift between Islamic militants and Yasser Arafat. Arafat's designated speaker, Tayyib Abdul Rahim, now says the investigation will be ongoing. That gives both Hamas and Arafat maneuvering room to wiggle out of their recent angry confrontations. Over the weekend, these Islamic militants demanded Arafat blame Israel for the assassination of the Hamas master bomber. One speaker telling Arafat to, quote, change your ways or get out of the government. Faced with a serious schism, Palestinian lawmakers now appear to be trying to fuzz up the issue of who killed the master bomber to please everybody. There was a clear retreat from the earlier rush to judgment that Hamas killed one of its own.
I think nobody is innocent before the investigation finished.
So everybody's suspected of being guilty still?
Yes.
Including the Israelis?
Yes.
Hamas still blames Israel for the assassination. Officially, Arafat's Palestinian Authority has not backed away from its conclusion Israel didn't do it. But some Palestinians appear to retreat from that conclusion too.
Perhaps it was a little bit premature to make that verdict, and I think the security services should have taken more time to investigate the issue before they issued an outright statement.
So the matter of who killed the master Hamas bomb maker is apparently still an open question. And these latest maneuverings seem to suggest there's an awful lot of internal Palestinian politics being injected into a murder investigation. Walter Rogers, CNN, Jerusalem.
Still ahead on WorldView, progress in the battle to eradicate a vicious parasite that threatens millions of people in Africa and Asia. We'll take you to the front lines. And why weather forecasters in Russia are feeling some heat from the mayor of Moscow.
WorldView is brought to you by SkyTel. Get SkyTel and get the message guaranteed.
There are times when you can't afford to miss a message. That's why Skyward Plus stores your messages when you go out of range and automatically delivers them when you get back. Because everybody knows missing a message can have serious consequences. So get SkyTel and get the message guaranteed.
Went to the mall. I like to write stories. They're important because if everybody wrote, everybody would have a bigger imagination. I could design a rocket ship. I could take paper airplanes and on the inside tape them together. My pictures are very important to my dad because when I tell him that I love him with a picture, he can keep it forever.
International Paper. We answer to the world.
We look at the mind. We see it expand. The New York Times announces Circuits, a new technology section every Thursday. Expect the world.
I don't paste my dentures anymore. I bond them with C-Bond denture adhesive.
Two powerful adhesives in a micro-thin seal bonds dentures to gums. Can hold and fit comfortably all day. No messy cleanup.
Bond your dentures with C-Bond.
Taking advantage of opportunities is a wise move when it comes to investing. With all the choices and considerations, planning your financial future can be intimidating. Oldie has a solution. A rare combination of professional advice, personal service, timely research, and commission savings. Plus a full line of investments that includes over 800 mutual funds. A rare combination, a unique opportunity. Call Oldie today.
The other day, Karen had to hurry to a surprise birthday party.
Honey, the doctor's on her way. Almost there.
So Karen didn't need any surprises from her car.
Just breathe. We need you to breathe easy.
Ford Taurus has millions of real-life miles behind it and a reliable door-tech engine in it.
The doctor's here. I hear someone's in a hurry.
And I know 2 people. Make that 3 people. And we're sure glad that she bought this car. Ford Taurus. It's built to last.
The world's best athletes on the world's biggest stage. 15 super sports. The 1998 Goodwill Games, where the world's best prove it.
The president of the Czech Republic is evidently out of immediate danger after undergoing emergency surgery for a perforated large intestine. Václav Havel was rushed to a hospital in Innsbruck while vacationing in Austria. He is now in intensive care. The 61-year-old Havel has suffered a number of health problems in recent years, including lung cancer and pneumonia. With the ink on the historic Northern Ireland peace accord barely dry, now comes the hard part. As CNN's Betsy Aaron explains, both Irish politicians and the people they serve must be convinced to accept the accord.
The agreement. Copies will be delivered to every home soon. Or free phone 0800 068 1919 for a copy now. It's your decision.
It's your decision and yours, Catholics and Protestants, asked to decide whether to govern together. But before the public gets to vote on May 22nd, the politicians get to vote this coming week. And the sound and fury coming from the closed rooms may be deafening. Here's why David Trimble has a tough sell. Read the Protestant faces. Whether they back a peace agreement or not, there is a belief among some and a fear among others that the Protestants were sold down the river, got the short end of the peace stick.
It's a mess. I think it is an abject surrender to IRA terrorism.
If negotiating at Stormont was difficult for David Trimble, Ulster Unionist Party leader, it was just a preview of what he's going through now. On Saturday, a contentious meeting with his executive committee, a subdued Trimble afterwards. Were there any surprises in these discussions? What came up?
There were some. But, you know, I don't want to go into in terms of personalities or arguments.
He did get the support, the vote 55 to 23, but to hear one man tell it...
Even those 55 who voted for it last Saturday, some of them voted for it almost in tears. And I believe that those folk will also reassess their position.
On the streets...
We're a special and unique race of people, and we have a right to have identity, and we will uphold that right.
That's the kind of sentiment William Ross is counting on to help him win the battle against the agreement when members of the party council vote this weekend. He's got an uphill fight because the news isn't all bad for David Trimble.
If Mr. Trimble does carry his party council this weekend, even by a small majority, the momentum then becomes almost unstoppable.
Those pushing the agreement, the Irish government for one, are pulling out all the political stops. IRA prisoners have been freed in a confidence-building measure for Sinn Féin. And the whole question of whether U.S. President Bill Clinton should come to Ireland has just become a political football. Those for and against the visit debating what good or harm he could do their cause. If the polls are to be believed, the public wants this peace. It's the journey to get there that's so difficult.
It's your decision.
Betsy Aaron, CNN, Belfast.
Meanwhile, on the other side of the globe, frustration is building between negotiators for North and South Korea at the first direct talks between the two rivals in 4 years. CNN's Rebecca McKinnon examines what is stalling the negotiations.
Yes, there were handshakes, but no, there was no agreement. After 4 days of talks, North Korean and South Korean negotiators were no closer to narrowing their differences than when they had begun.
We have agreed in principle that the South will give us fertilizer, but we have yet to narrow our differences on the details.
North Korea wants the South to give it 200,000 tons of fertilizer within the next month, in time for spring planting season, so that it can grow food to feed its hungry people. But the South is sticking to its guns that the North must give something back. 400,000 South Koreans have not seen their relatives living in the North since the peninsula was divided by the Korean War. South Korea's chief negotiator said the South Korean public does not want him to give any aid to North Korea until the North agrees to a timetable for family reunions.
They said they want to receive the fertilizer first, and then they will consider other issues. We find this to be quite unreasonable.
The two sides hope to talk again over the next 2 days. As North Korea prepares for a national holiday on Wednesday to celebrate the birthday of its founding father, international aid agencies say that the food situation throughout the country is growing desperate. But North Korea's chief delegate did little to allay concerns that at least some international aid may be getting siphoned off to the North Korean military. Despite a demand by the World Food Program that their monitors must be given more access to the countryside or they will cut back their aid, North Korea won't open up any further.
You don't have to eat 100 cows to know the taste of beef. The World Food Program has enough access without going to the 50 counties.
And so while North Korea says it's desperate for aid, the price it's being asked to pay is to open up just a little bit more to the outside world. Judging from what North Korean officials have said at this week's talks, that price may be too high. Rebecca McKinnon, CNN, Beijing.
In Iran, tensions are running high over the detention of Tehran's mayor. Thousands of students rallied in the capital city Tuesday calling for the mayor's release. Hundreds of riot police used clubs to break up the demonstration. News organizations covering the protest had their film and video confiscated by the Iranian government. Tehran's mayor was arrested and jailed earlier this month on corruption charges. He is an ally of moderate President Mohammad Khatami. And moderates say his arrest is part of a campaign by hardliners to undermine Mr. Khatami's rule. In South Africa, intensive talks are underway between lawyers for former President P.W. Botha and a commission investigating crimes committed during the apartheid era. Botha is refusing to appear before the panel. And as CNN's Mike Hanna reports, unless a compromise is reached, he could be prosecuted.
In the midst of a motorcade, the once all-powerful president on his way to answer criminal charges. The courtroom is ringed with razor wires to keep demonstrators at their distance as P.W. Botha arrives to explain why he's refusing to appear before the country's Truth and Reconciliation Commission.
We do not seek to humiliate him. We do not seek to prosecute him.
At the last moment, the case is adjourned to allow lawyers to attempt to negotiate a deal. Truth Commission sources say if the former president now agreed to give evidence, even behind closed doors, then the Attorney General would be asked to drop the charges of contempt against him. Among a small group of P.W. Botha supporters, there's still the belief that the former president is being unfairly singled out.
I can't understand why don't they leave him alone? Why must they bother him?
I pray for him, says this woman. He is a good man. But while lawyers continue their negotiations, it's clear that the majority of onlookers are there to see P.W. Botha face the justice they believe he denied so many South Africans in the past. He should have a rope tied around his neck and be hanged, sing the crowd. After hours of discussion, the matter is still not resolved. And the Attorney General is adamant that if, by morning, Mr. Botha still refuses to appear before the Commission, the criminal trial will proceed. Lawyers are attempting to find a way in which Mr. Botha can appear before the Commission while maintaining what he regards as the respect due to a former head of state. For its part, the Commission is adamant that the foremost figure of the apartheid era must submit to its authority. Mike Hanna, CNN, George, South Africa.
Also in South Africa, President Nelson Mandela is condemning the killing of a black baby girl, calling it proof that racism still exists. Tuesday, Mr. Mandela visited the field near Johannesburg where a white farmer allegedly shot to death a 6-month-old girl as she was being carried by her cousin, who was wounded in the shooting. The farmer has been charged with murder and attempted murder. His bail hearing is set for Friday. Farther north on the African continent, success is close at hand in the campaign to stamp out a terrible disease. CNN's Bob Cohen traveled to one of the danger zones of the dreaded guinea worm in Mali and filed this report.
Victory is near for the people of this African village. Everyone has come out to celebrate the final battle. And today they've been joined by their allies in this fight, the war against the guinea worm.
We have come here to show you how much we care about making sure that your village never suffers from guinea worm again.
The village of Nerinikoro in Mali is on the front line of the battle to eradicate the guinea worm, a disease for which there is no cure and that still threatens millions in Africa and Asia. This visit by members of the Carter Center is just the latest phase of their global campaign against guinea worm, started more than a decade ago.
In 1986, there were an estimated 3.2 million cases in the world. In 1997, we had brought that down to less than 150,000 cases.
Despite this 95% reduction, guinea worm still persists in many areas. People become infected by drinking water contaminated with the worm's eggs. But it takes 12 months for the worm to appear. Up to 3 feet long, it slowly emerges from a blister. Although not usually fatal, it is extremely painful and causes infections which can cripple the victim. The disease was thought to have been eradicated long ago in this part of Mali, but last year, 4 people from this village became infected. Asantu Balo says that when the worm emerged from her leg, it felt like her flesh was being pulled out with it. Another estimated 60,000 cases of guinea worm remain in the Sudan, but those victims are inaccessible because of civil war.
We need to redouble our efforts to concentrate.
The final challenge of total eradication was the focus of a recent conference in Mali that brought together experts from across the world.
We hope that by the year 2000, except for some villages in southern Sudan, we'll have guinea worm eradicated.
For many villages in Africa, the only drinking water available is from unprotected sources like this, which are susceptible to guinea worm contamination. But by following simple preventive measures, even this water can be made safe. The most effective means of prevention is the simple filtering of water through a specially woven cloth. A newly developed chemical can also be used to treat the water. Experts are confident that by promoting these easy methods, their goal will be realized, and that guinea worm will join smallpox, the only disease to have ever been successfully eradicated. Bob Cohen, CNN, Nerinikoro, Mali.
At first, Ramada and Holiday Inn may look similar. So to set us apart, at Ramada, we look for ways to do something special. At Ramada, our personal best will blow you away. For reservations, call 1-800-2-RAMADA.
At BASF, we don't make the sunscreen, we make it stronger. We don't make the tennis shoes, we make them grip better. We don't make the jacket, we make it brighter. We don't make the carpet, we make it tougher. At BASF, we don't make a lot of the products you buy. We make a lot of the products you buy better. BASF.
Anne Klein Eyewear by Luxottica. What do you want people to see?
I want you to see fearlessness.
The unexpected.
I want you to see you don't need words to make a statement.
Let them see you in Anne Klein Eyewear by Luxottica.
Once upon a time, there was a printer that thought it was a copier. It was fast, 32 pages a minute. This printer collated, sorted, and stapled like a copier. Even had a name worthy of a copier. And starting at just $2,900, it made all the other printers very, very sad. That's the story of the Xerox DocuPrint N32, the printer that thinks it's a copier. For your local reseller, call 1-800-34-XEROX.
Parenting is a constant learning process. What you have to do is prioritize.
Back in '88, Earl wanted to retire,
Spend more time with Tiger.
My dad taught me.
I met an American Express financial advisor. Dave is a personal friend of mine to this day. We trust each other because we got a track record.
It's about making smarter decisions.
We're a team, and that's when dreams can happen.
American Express Financial Advisors.
If you're like most Americans, April 15th is a dreaded day. From the do's and don'ts of filing to the write-offs you never thought possible, Leon Harris and Deborah Marchini ease the pain of these taxing times. A CNN special report tonight, 10 Eastern on CNN.
The world's biggest religious gathering climaxed Tuesday with an estimated 10 million people taking part. Every 12 years, Hindus and people of other faiths gather in Hardwar, India, for the ritual bathing in the Ganges River. Many believe the water will wash away their sins. Those lingering too long are removed by police. Unlike the violence of some previous festivals, this one has been peaceful. The mayor of Moscow is outraged, he says. Some Muscovites are calling for heads to roll. The source of their wrath? The weather forecasters. Our Moscow bureau chief Jill Doherty reports from the center of the storm.
It was springtime in Moscow when literally out of the blue skies came a blizzard of snow. 30 centimeters, almost a foot of snow, was dumped on streets and balconies and schoolyards. But this time, stoic Muscovites were not taking the snow in stride.
Yeah, great weather forecast. Great job. If I'm not mistaken, they promised 15 degrees centigrade, warm weather, Sunday. That's exactly when the snowfall began.
The Russian Meteorological Center didn't see it coming. Sunday, it issued 6 different forecasts. And Moscow Mayor Yuri Lushkov, who had to pay overtime for the cleanup, was furious. Deception, disinformation, his spokesman said. Lushkov now says he'll break the city's contract with the Meteorological Bureau and start its own weather service. Weather officials say it's not their fault. They blame it on a cyclone from Ukraine. Some Muscovites say they feel sorry for the Meteorological Service.
They haven't been paid in months. How can they know the weather? All serious scientists left the country a long time ago. There's no one who can do the job. Trust me, I'm a scientist myself.
Meanwhile, soldiers have been called out to clear Dinamo Stadium for an international soccer cup match. But some Muscovites are making the best of it, turning unpredictability into some pretty predictable fun. Jill Doherty, CNN, Moscow.
From snow in Moscow to a heat wave in Israel. Residents there are experiencing the country's worst April heat in 30 years. Some of those enduring the high temperatures are the animals of Jerusalem's biblical zoo. Workers are helping them beat the heat by hosing them down. Others are given ice blocks filled with fruit. The weather is not expected to cool down anytime soon. Can some medicine be bad for you? Well, a new study says yes, more often than we thought, and the results can be deadly. That story ahead on WorldView. Also, President Clinton pays a visit to America's oldest astronaut.
You like the way you feel when you get what you need, like the kid of your heart, like a break in the weather. You deserve someone who's always there at your service. Quality care.
Quality Care Service from Ford and Lincoln Mercury dealers.
Tonight on CNN, it all starts at 7 with all the day's business news on CNN's Money Line with Lou Dobbs. At 7:30, Crossfire debates the issues from the left and the right. Then at 8, it's The World Today. At 9, Larry King Live. Tonight, is it fair to compare Clinton's Monica Lewinsky story to Watergate? At 10, on the eve of the U.S. income tax deadline, a CNN special report looks at America's taxing times. That's all tonight on CNN. Tonight, Bill Press and Bob Novak will shake things up in Washington. Crossfire, 7:30 Eastern on CNN.
Check this out. Looking good. There's gotta be a better way.
There is a better way. It's the YMCA's new 101 program, a one-to-one 12-week weight management and exercise program. If you'd like a little personal attention, give us a call at 242-YMCA.
Look, they have a family plan too.
Exercise, schmexercise.
From 1958 to 1971, John Doak meant experience to the Air Force and the Tennessee Air Guard. As an attorney for over 35 years, John Doak has meant experience to clients and colleagues. And John Doak has meant experience to the community. But always, John Doak has meant experience as a husband, father, and friend. John Doak. Experience where it counts for Davidson County. Vote for John Doak for judge.
Inside Politics, 5 Eastern today on CNN.
Drugs that are supposed to heal may end up hurting you. A new study finds an alarming number of people may be dying from bad reactions to medicine.
This is WorldView with CNN's Bernard Shaw and Judy Woodruff in Washington.
Thank you for joining us. Bernie is off. Also ahead on WorldView, thousands of gallons of napalm and nowhere to put it. The dispute over what to do with these leftovers from the Vietnam War. And preventing the next air disaster, the U.S. government sets an ambitious agenda. About 2 million people a year experience bad reactions to drugs prescribed by their doctor and available over the counter in pharmacies. As many as 100,000 may die because of it. A new study paints a disturbing picture of what can go wrong when you take medication. CNN medical correspondent Dr. Steve Salvatore has the story.
The golden rule of medicine is first, do no harm. But a new report finds that in an alarming number of cases, medicine prescribed, especially in hospitals, caused a lot of harm, many times even death.
These events are common and they can have serious consequences. And that more weight needs to be given to these events.
Researchers report in this week's Journal of the American Medical Association that more than 2 million people each year in the United States experience what are called adverse drug reactions.
One of the things that jumps out about this study is the number of deaths that are projected to be due to adverse drug reactions, which is 100,000 per year, and would make this the 4th to 6th leading cause of death in the United States.
Heart disease, cancer, and stroke are the top 3 killers in the United States. According to the authors, a serious adverse reaction is one that requires hospitalization, prolongs hospitalization, or one that permanently disables or results in death. The authors report that doctors or medication errors were not the cause of these adverse drug reactions. More simply, sometimes without warning, patients can experience side effects. While the numbers are alarming, researchers point to flaws in the study design.
The main problems with this study were that it relied on many smaller studies, and combining many small studies doesn't necessarily bring you closer to the truth.
Y'all give me 4 of those a day now.
The researchers say the best way to avoid an adverse drug reaction is to be a well-educated patient.
There are some that will take what you hand them with no question, and then some patients want to know everything that you give them.
To help protect yourself against an adverse drug reaction, be your own advocate. Remember to read all the information you get when you pick up your prescription. And don't be afraid to ask questions. A little knowledge can make a big difference. Dr. Steve Salvatore, CNN Atlanta.
The U.S. government is launching an investigation into a medical research project that has upset some youth advocacy groups in New York City. 100 boys between the ages of 6 to 11 were given one-time doses of fenfluramine, part of the now banned diet drug combination called fen-phen. Researchers say they wanted to know its effect on certain brain chemicals as part of a study on aggression. Officials at the New York State Psychiatric Institute, at Queens College, and Mount Sinai School of Medicine all say the experiments were done before fen-phen was pulled from the market. A group of health professionals warn that many U.S. agencies are not prepared to respond to a chemical or biological attack on U.S. soil. The agencies cited include the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, and the FBI. Health officials from the National Foundation for Infectious Diseases say that these groups lack a ready supply of vaccines and an adequate pool of inoculated healthcare workers to care for victims of a possible chemical or biological attack. The foundation is funded by the pharmaceutical industry. Federal officials do not dispute the claims. A review of airline safety ordered after the explosion aboard TWA Flight 800 has yielded its first results. CNN's Carl Rochelle reports.
The forecast is grim. Boeing Aircraft says unless safety is improved, there could be one major airline crash a week worldwide by 2015. The Clinton administration says it's taking steps to reduce those odds.
We can't allow that rise in the number of crashes that would come without the action, so we have to do everything we can to make air travel even safer.
Vice President Gore announced several safety initiatives. One would deal with a situation where a crew, for unknown reasons, flies a perfectly good plane into the ground. That's what happened at the recent Korean Airlines crash on Guam. Referred to as controlled flight into terrain, it was the leading cause of accidents between 1987 and 96, claiming nearly 2,400 lives. The White House is ordering all airlines to begin using enhanced ground proximity warning devices within 3 years. The new system uses global satellite navigation and terrain mapping to provide increased warning time.
Pull up! Pull up! Pull up!
The administration is also attacking uncontained engine failures. That's when a part of the engine breaks off and penetrates the cabin or damages a critical part of the plane, causing a crash.
With the help of engine manufacturers joining together for the first time, we now know how to bring down the rate of accidents caused by uncontained engine failures by 40%.
Aviation industry experts call the plan a step in the right direction.
We're addressing issues that are major, such as controlled flight into the terrain, and some of the technology is already being used, and it will simply be put on more aircraft, and that's a very good idea.
Boeing stands by its forecast of one accident a week by 2015, but says the White House action may help. The safety issues are not new, but the increased emphasis is. And with the number of passengers at U.S. airports expected to grow to 1 billion a year by 2010, experts say now is the time to act to head off more serious problems in the future. Carl Rochelle, CNN, the White House.
There's been an unexpected development in a story that we told you about Monday. The Indiana company that agreed to recycle some 3 million gallons of napalm now wants out of the deal. This is 12,000 gallons of the jellied explosive are on a train en route to East Chicago from California. Here is our Jennifer Author with details.
When the Paris Peace Accord banned the use of napalm back in 1973, the U.S. Navy could not have imagined just how difficult it would be to dispose of. The mixture of gasoline, benzene, and plastic was designed to stick to skin, as depicted here in South Vietnam in 1972. A company in Indiana that agreed to recycle 23 million pounds of the napalm announced Tuesday it wants to back out of the deal.
It is our decision to cancel our contract with Battelle Institute, a subcontractor of the U.S. Navy, to recycle this material. This has turned into an unfortunate situation PCI did not bargain for when we initially accepted the contract.
Tankers are specially designed. The Navy already has loaded onto rail cars 12,000 pounds of napalm for transport from the West Coast to the Midwest. This after storing the napalm for more than 20 years at this naval facility in Fallbrook, California. If this plan fails, it will be the fourth such attempt to disintegrate.
The disposal plan had been approved by the EPA and by other agencies. And obviously, one option would be to carry out the contract.
The need to dispose of or recycle the napalm has become critical. The bombs are degrading rapidly. For the past few years, the Navy has been monitoring them, checking for and repairing leaks, and when called for, releasing pressure. Residents and lawmakers in California were pleased to see the napalm heading out, while residents and lawmakers from the Midwest say not here.
I was concerned that the Navy had not thoroughly reviewed the environmental record of the company chosen to perform its disposal.
We cannot compete as the football in this very much national political arena. PCI is not withdrawing from the contract for any environmental reasons. Our facility is one of the best in the country today.
Under PCI's original contract, the napalm, its aluminum casing, and the wooden crates holding the bombs were all to be recycled.
When canisters are being punched, you can see napalm flowing.
The agreement was called a win-win situation by the Navy, which now must find a way to deflect another defeated plan for napalm disposal. Jennifer Arthur, CNN, Los Angeles.
Ah, the snooze button. Just think, if everyone in America had a job they actually liked to get up and go to in the morning, there'd be no such thing as a snooze button. What if all you had to do was wake up, like now, and make just one call to find the job you really want? One call to hook up with someone with a little clout who could pull a few strings. Someone who last year helped more than 400,000 people find jobs they actually enjoy. Rise and shine, aspiring accountants, receptionists, and administrative assistants. Carpe diem paralegals and computer programmers. That new job of yours is just a ring away. Think of it as a wake-up call for your career.
If you have skills in technology, legal, accounting, or administrative and clerical services, find out how Interim can help you. Call 1-800-A-CAREER.
Looking for digital connectable office technology? There's Meta Digital Laser Color. Wide format printing. Laser printing, fax, multifunction. Or Meta's new advanced digital copier printer. Whether your CPU is on your desktop or on your shoulders, digital technology from Meta can help.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are flying in the Bermuda Triangle, a place where things are known to disappear and are never found. Fortunately, we have an I-Omega zip drive on board, and with it I can make a quick copy of all my important stuff. The 100 megabyte zip disk let me save, store, and take all my stuff with me. No need to panic. Okay, boys, let's take her back in. Hello?
Get an I-Omega zip drive today, because it's your stuff.
It's the transportation system of the next millennium, moving the goods that move our economy. An advanced computer network will track every shipment. Experienced engineers will oversee each mission. But perhaps the most remarkable feature of this system of tomorrow is that it's here, today. Norfolk Southern, the future of transportation, is the thoroughbred of transportation.
Do it. U.S. President Clinton visited the Johnson Space Center in Texas Tuesday, where he saw a 76-year-old astronaut in training. Democratic Senator John Glenn of Ohio was hoisted 15 feet and then dropped into a swimming pool. The first American to orbit the Earth in 1962, Glenn is preparing for an October shuttle mission. President Clinton had another reason to be in Houston, Texas, to revive his effort to hold a national dialogue on race. For more on that, we are joined by CNN senior White House correspondent Wolf Blitzer. Wolf?
Judy, even President Clinton's own advisors now admit that his year-long initiative on race has so far turned out to be a disaster. They're hoping tonight's televised town hall meeting here in Houston will begin to turn things around. With considerable fanfare last June, Mr. Clinton announced that year-long initiative, promising he was going to try to do something to improve race relations in America. As a white son of the South with a proven track record in trying to do something about it, he thought he was well positioned to begin to tackle this problem. In fact, some of his aides began talking about this turning out to be a presidential legacy. There's no such talk anymore. That's because there have been several setbacks over these past several months, including the sensitive issue of slavery, Mr. Clinton deciding not to formally apologize even during his recent visit to Africa. There was also what was seen as a widely ineffective town hall meeting in Akron, Ohio last June, all of which has now combined to result in this decision to come up with a final report, probably not before early next year. Judy?
Wolf Blitzer traveling with the president in Texas. At this second town meeting on race, Mr. Clinton is using America's passion for sports as a catalyst for dialogue. What might they talk about? CNN's Bruce Morton has these thoughts.
All the graceful young men, not the boys of summer now, but the millionaires of summer or winter or fall. Do they still want to win, or doesn't it matter if you're rich? Can they be coached by poorer men? But that's not race, it's dollars. What about the front office jobs? Remember Al Campanis of the Dodgers on Nightline 11 years ago?
No, I don't believe it's prejudice. I truly believe that they may not have some of the necessities to be, let's say, a field manager or perhaps a general manager.
In basketball, football, baseball, minority front office hiring is up, but
I think that can be deceptive, because now that you've got more, people are under this assumption that everything is just fine and dandy, when in fact it is not.
Northeastern University's Center for the Study of Sport and Society says 28% of the NBA's top executives were black in the 1996-97 season, 17% of pro footballs, 3% of Major League Baseballs. Do forums like the one being held by the president make any difference?
He is treating the issue of race with a lack of seriousness. And it's good sound bites, and it's always good to have all-American ball players or NBA ball players to discuss race and sex, but it's sort of off the point.
The more people talk about these things in the open, I think the better off we are as a society.
That's one view. Critics like Alexander say there aren't that many jobs in pro sports on or off the field, and the president has power to act against job discrimination, not just talk about it.
He has the power as president to control the action and to see to it that where employment discrimination is taking place, and it's taking place throughout America today, he as president can give some direction. But talking to athletes isn't going to do it.
Race in sports is like race in America. Are we better than we used to be? Yes. Have we ended discrimination? Certainly not. Not in sports, not in boardrooms, not in America. Bruce Morton, CNN, Washington.
When we come back, who won Pulitzer Prizes today?
Tonight on Larry King Live, from Nixon to Clinton, a discussion of crises in the White House. Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein and others. A great panel tonight, 9 Eastern on CNN.
I'm watching you, CNN.
They will do business at a pace we can't conceive of. Where in the world will they get the energy they need? Today, Southern Company is taking its 70 years of experience to Europe, Asia, and South America. At home, we're packaging electricity and gas, reinventing the way business will buy energy. So when they travel through life at the speed of light, we'll be waiting for them with the power on. We are Southern Company, energy to serve your world.
Morning, George. George Jr., George Sr.
Hi. Hey, morning.
Like to see how your cereals stack up to Total?
Sure.
Hope you're hungry. To get the vitamins in one bowl of Total, you'd have to eat 2 bowls of cornflakes.
Eat up, son.
You'd need 4 bowls of Raisin Bran.
And a really big spoon.
10 bowls of shredded wheat for you.
What's so funny? Nothing.
Nice bowls.
Total has 100% of 10 vitamins and minerals in just 1 bowl.
We'll take the Total. And give Junior the check.
Total Raisin Bran, Total Cornflakes. 1 bowl, 100%.
For about the price of an ordinary hotel, Residence Inn gives you a full kitchen, a living room, and 50% more space.
Out.
What you do with all that extra space is up to you. Residence Inn by Marriott. Room to relax, room to work, room to breathe.
A grandson. I'm the luckiest man alive.
Well, maybe not so lucky.
What?
Well, you never saved any money, Dad. And we can't afford you and the baby. You gotta move out.
But I want to spend time with him.
Oh, you can. The movers won't be here until 4. Uh-oh. They're here early. Wave bye-bye to Grandpa. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Don't be caught unprepared. Get outstanding research, investment expertise, and global strength at Alliance Capital, because later is sooner than you think.
A moment of goodwill, brought to you by Michelob, a proud sponsor of the 1998 Goodwill Games. While New York is known as the true melting pot, it's only fitting that the most diverse city in the world hosts this most diverse sporting event.
Go ahead, throw it. I deserve it.
There's ordinary beer. Then there's the smooth, refreshing taste of Michelob Light. Beer or Michelob?
As the Goodwill Games visit the Empire State this summer, superstars from over 60 countries will bring spectacular talents and diverse backgrounds. Not only a multi-sport event, but a multicultural event as well. These international games certainly reflect their host city. This moment of goodwill has been brought to you by Michelob.
The fate of a death row inmate from Paraguay now rests with the U.S. Supreme Court and the governor of Virginia. Angel Francisco Breard is scheduled to be executed in Virginia in just a few hours for the rape and murder of a Virginia woman. The U.S. State Department and the World Court have asked Virginia Governor Jim Gilmore to stay Breard's execution. They say the state violated international law by failing to notify Paraguay of Breard's arrest. To another capital case, this one in Florida, a jury has sentenced Lawrence Singleton to death for the murder of a prostitute in his home. The 70-year-old Singleton showed little reaction to the verdict. Singleton was the focus of public outrage once before when he was paroled after serving just 8 years in prison for the rape of a 15-year-old hitchhiker in 1978. The 81st annual Pulitzer Prizes were announced Tuesday. One of the biggest winners, the staff of a North Dakota newspaper. As CNN's Bob Kane reports, these journalists faced huge problems in covering a major story.
You remember the flooding that inundated Grand Forks, North Dakota last year? And then the fires that broke out on top of the flood.
Grand Forks Herald.
And you may remember the feisty staff of the Grand Forks Herald, the little newspaper that could. For the job they did, and for the circumstances under which they did it, the staff of the Grand Forks Herald won the Pulitzer Prize for Public Service Reporting, the gold medal of the Pulitzer Prizes.
I think the prize is for publishing. I think that the service that the Herald did was to come out every day through this whole crisis and to contain a lot of really good information, locating people, information about cleanup, health concerns, and that sort of thing.
The prize committee said about the Herald that it helped hold its community together in the wake of flooding, a blizzard, and fire that devastated much of the city, including the newspaper plant itself. A lot of newspapers might have thrown in the towel when their plant disappeared beneath the waves. The people at the Herald managed to keep putting out a paper for people who needed it more than ever. Bob Kane, CNN.
Others winning Pulitzers, 3 to the New York Times for beat reporting, international reporting, and literary criticism. The Los Angeles Times was honored for breaking news reporting and feature photography. Former Washington Post publisher Katharine Graham won for her autobiography. The United States Postal Service is under attack for the way it does business, and the criticism is coming from the United Parcel Service, a private company. UPS says the Postal Service needs to stop using its monopoly on first-class mail to subsidize products and services that put it in direct competition with UPS and other companies. Mapping out a basic difference between the sexes. Scientific research goes off in a new direction. The details when WorldView returns.
Closed captioning is brought to you by Bell Atlantic, your guide through the wiles of communications.
Day night, with postseason hopes on the line, the Wizards travel to New York to take on the Knicks. Wizards-Knicks, tonight at 8. Prime time, nationwide. The NBA's on TNT.
Tonight in the Crossfire,
minorities in the world of sports. Has the president scored any points in his race-related conversation? Former basketball standout Isaiah Thomas speaks out. Tonight, 7:30 Eastern on CNN.
Thursday night on Larry King Live, a special interview with Monica Lewinsky's father, Dr. Bernard Lewinsky, discussing his crusade to support his daughter. It's his first live interview with your phone calls only on CNN.
Tonight, Bill Press and Bob Novak will shake things up in Washington. Crossfire, 7:30 Eastern on CNN.
More than 20 years ago, Aaron Holt decided to be a lawyer. With determination, he worked at a local grocery store while attending law school at night. He served his fellow students as a member of the Honor Council. Aaron Holt is a hard worker who went on to become a successful lawyer, parent, and dedicated contributor to his community. Today, Aaron Holt continues his hard work, his commitment to family, and is proud to have served twice on the Metro Council.
I have the education and experience to serve you as General Sessions Judge. I will appreciate your vote on May 5th.
Termites.
Termites? We can't have termites.
If subterranean termites have you climbing the walls, call the experts at Sears Home Central. Our service provides thorough annual inspections and comprehensive treatments. And while no one can promise you'll never get termites, we give our customers a $250,000 repair protection plan. If termites do any new damage, we'll repair it. So for your free home inspection, call our termite and pest control experts at Sears Home Central today.
If you ask me, Clay Espy's the best lawyer in town. Of course, with all the depositions he has to take, arms up. I noticed he wasn't in town much.
I'm sorry, the can stays with me.
So I told Clay Bellsouth could help him avoid all that traveling if he video conferenced his depositions. A suggestion which saved his company so much time and money, they sent him on an all-expense-paid trip to Hawaii.
Hey, Bob. Hey, Clay. Arms up.
From 1958 to 1971, John Doak meant experience to the Air Force and the Tennessee Air Guard. As an attorney for over 35 years, John Doak has meant experience to clients and colleagues. And John Doak has meant experience to the community. But always, John Doak has meant experience as a husband, father, and friend. John Doak, experience where it counts for Davidson County. Vote for John Doak for Judge.
With Donna Kelly and Leon Harris, 7 Eastern weekdays on CNN.
I'm Jan Hopkins. Tonight on Moneyline, an unexpected move from the world's largest computer chip maker. Intel is cutting jobs for the first time in more than a decade. And blue chip stocks bolt past another century mark, topping 9,100 for the first time ever. Also tonight, I'll talk to the man who's giving up the action on Wall Street for the drama on Broadway. That and more coming up. Now back to Worldview and Judy Woodruff.
Thanks, Jan. Much to keep an eye on. If you've ever gotten lost during a trip with someone of the opposite sex, some new research may not surprise you. CNN's Rhonda Rowland reports on another difference between men and women.
When it comes to directions, men and women often take different roads to get from point A to point B.
And I follow landmarks and I'll get to where I'm supposed to be.
Let's stop and ask, why do we keep driving around in circles?
Sound familiar? How we make our way through town may in part be determined by our vestibular system. It's what also keeps us in balance. Ear, nose, and throat specialist Douglas Maddox explains how it works. First, imagine you're trying to read on a rocking boat.
Your eyes are looking down at the book and they're saying everything's fine, nothing's moving. But your inner ear is saying, wait a minute, there's a problem here. We are moving, because the brain can't figure out the discrepancy between the two signals and says, okay, I'll go be sick.
Getting those signals crossed may also throw off our sense of direction. Researchers from the Collège de France wanted to find out if the vestibular system works differently in males and females, so they used virtual reality to fool the senses. In the experiment, the chair rotated 180 degrees, while the virtual reality display moved just 90 degrees. The researchers were surprised to discover male subjects believed what their eyes told them more often than the women did.
It does indicate to us that maybe males and females their brain do not deal with space in the same way.
It shows that women are a little bit more hardwired and that the men were a little bit more plastic, a little bit more adaptable. Now, we don't know yet which is the good one to be.
Though that may depend on your point of view.
I think I am. What do you think?
I think I am.
Really?
Could these differences at least explain why the sexes argue about directions?
Yes, it could. Although the reason for which they argue is not clear yet.
Also, what's not clear is how this information can be used. The study's too small and too preliminary to draw any major conclusions. But who knows? His and her maps may not be far off. Rhonda Rowland, CNN, Atlanta.
Once again, men proven inferior. That's all for WorldView. I'm Judy Woodruff. Thanks for joining us.
This is CNN.
Live from the financial capital of the world, New York City, this is Moneyline with Lou Dobbs. Sitting in tonight, Jan Hopkins.
Good evening. Intel is cutting back the world's biggest